Hey, what's up everybody? It's time for another video in my series where I try to use Sega Sportstalk Baseball to guide the 1992 Mets, aka the worst team money can buy, to a better record than they really had. So sit back, relax, hit like and subscribe, and enjoy the show. Hey, so this is what I'm going to call a very special episode. As you can see, we've already picked the Royals as our opponent. I did that because I felt like playing in the Blue Moon Stadium. It's open air, but it's on AstroTurf. And Kauffman Field back in the day, still open air, but it had AstroTurf back then. The problem is, in my haste to get this game started, I accidentally picked Sid Fernandez as my starter because I felt he was due up in my quote-unquote rotation. What I really should have done was record this later so I could pick Brett Saberhagen as my starter. Anybody who follows the Mets for a long time knows that he came over during the offseason before the 92 season in a trade that sent Greg Jefferies and Kevin McReynolds back to Kansas City. So speaking of Greg Jefferies, let's talk about him for a bit. Now, anybody who followed the Mets in the late 80s, or even followed baseball cards in the late 80s, knew who Greg Jefferies was. He was a very highly touted prospect at the AAA level. So they finally called him up in '89, and he didn't do too well. He hit about 258, got a little better in subsequent seasons, but it never seemed like he could handle the New York media and play well. So they packaged him again with Kevin McReynolds and one other player to get Brett Saberhagen. Jefferies would go on to then end up with the Cardinals, had a couple good seasons there, ended up with the Phillies for a couple years, and retired, I think, in 2000. Speaking of Kevin McReynolds, here he is. So he came over to the Mets in the offseason after the Mets won the World Series in '86. He was traded mainly for Kevin Mitchell, who was, I guess, the fourth outfielder at the time. I actually liked Kevin Mitchell a lot. I thought he had a lot of potential, and I think he went on to do some pretty good things. But I believe the Mets were trying to shed their image as being a bunch of naughty boys. Kevin Mitchell kind of had an attitude, whereas Kevin McReynolds was more laid back, liked to hunt, liked to fish, liked to keep a low profile. So it was an attempt to cleanse the locker room, as it were. McReynolds played really well for the Mets, but I guess in order to get Saberhagen, you gotta give up something to get something, and they wanted McReynolds. We had to send him. And just another useless at-bat from Willie Randolph, who, in the course of me playing all these games, hasn't really done much of anything save for a home run early on. True Yankee, that one. And there's Bobby Bonilla, who as of 2020 is still getting an annual check from the Mets. I got to be honest, I was surprised that George Brett was still on the team in '92. Looking at his Wikipedia page, he played one more season, retiring after the '93 season. And he was pretty dominant throughout. I mainly remember him growing up in suburbs of New York as part of the pine tar incident back in 1980, where the Yankees accused him of having too much pine tar on his bat. But, geez, he went on to play another 13 years after that, and obviously went to the Hall of Fame. And yes, you're seeing correctly, that is Kirk Gibson batting seventh for the Royals. You might remember him as the hero of Game 1 of the 1988 World Series, where, as a member of the Dodgers, he hit a home run to win the game off against the Athletics. He would go on to sign with the Royals before the '91 season and played a couple more years after that. Man, Howard Johnson is just so dominant in this game. I was actually watching a video on YouTube about overpowered video game athletes, guys like Bo Jackson and Hakeem Olajuwon, and somebody even made a comment that Hojo was pretty dominant in this game, so it's not just me who noticed this. Now, assuming this is Keith Miller, we've now seen all three players who came back to the Royals in the Saberhagen trade. The Royals actually did send Bill Pacoda to the Mets, and you've seen him on my bench a few times. I generally don't use him, though. I like to use the outfielders first.
The shortstop makes the play. He's out. The throw to second and throws to first. Next up, number 56. Fastball. Outside. Ball one. He delivers. Hit hard to short. Great catch. He's out. Side retired. No running. No hits. No errors. And no one left on. In the top of the third, New York 1, Kansas City nothing. Leading off, number 21. Fastball. Inside. Ball one. Delivered. Fastball. Inside. Ball two. 2-0 count. Swing and a ground ball. Back to the box. Then makes the catch. He's out. Next up, number 50. Batting 154. Ground ball to second. Close to first. He's out. Next up, number 12. Hitting 255. Fastball. Takes it. Strike one. Hit off the middle. Got it. Close to first. Got him. 3 away. After 3, New York 1, Kansas City nothing. Leading off, number 9. Here it comes. Hit off the middle. Picks it up. Close to first. Not in time.
I was a bit surprised to see Wally Joyner on this team. I kind of lost track of what happened to him after he left the California Angels. As somebody who collected baseball cards starting in '87, he had his rookie card in that top set with a little golden trophy rated rookie on it. And never knew what happened to him really after that. But spent some time with the Royals, and then he kind of bounced around the league for a while, always doing well, but always on the move. Braves, Padres, ended up with a 16-year career. So good on him.
He has it. The throw to second. The runner comes in to score. Throws to first. The runner going for 2. He's out. Next up, number 22. Here it comes. Line drive to short and makes the grab. Out. Next up, number 5. Hitting 255. Ground ball foul. Delivered. Hit to short. Picks it up, throws to first. In time. Side retired. In the top of the fourth. Up 1 time. Leading off, number 30. The pitch on the way. Fastball. Takes it. Line drive. Right to second. It drops in. Got it. Close to second. Next up, number 25. Fastball. He takes it. Strike ball. The pitch on the way. The runner heads for second. Ground ball to second. Got it. Down to second. On to first for 2. He's out. Double play.
Bobby Bonilla, man, that's all I gotta say. He will occasionally do some good stuff for me, usually in later innings when the pitcher gets tired. Mainly doubles and singles. I rarely hit home runs with him. Usually I have to pull it right down the line. And don't even get me started on Eddie Murray. I still haven't really figured out how to use him well in this game. I don't hit many home runs with him. Again, like Bonilla, mainly doubles and singles.
Delivered. Ground ball to second. He has it. The throw to first. Safe. Next up, number 30. Hitting 236. Infield back. Here it comes. Hit hard to short. It drops in. Picks it up close to third. Base hit. Next up, number 26. He delivers. Swing and a ground ball to short. Great stop. Close to second. In time. The throw to first. The runner he back. Not in time. Next up, number 12. makes the grab. He's out. Throws to second. Throws to first. He's safe. Next up, number 56. Delivered. Ground ball up the middle. He has it. Close to second. Got him. Side retired. No run. 2 hits, no errors, and 2 left on. After 4.5. The score is up 1 time. Leading off, number 20. Hit foul. Here it comes. Line drive to center. It drops in. Close to second. Safe. Next up, number 10. Here it comes. Swing and a ground ball up the middle. Close to third. He's safe. Close to first. And throws home. In there with a double. Next up, number 2. Hitting 272. Hit hard to left. It drops in. The runner comes in to score. He has it close to third. Close home. The runner comes in to score. In there with a double. Next up, number 21. He delivers. The runner hits the third. Ground ball to second. He has it close home. The runner going for 2. There comes the throw. In there with a double. Next up, number 50. Time out. Number 45 goes in with number 50. Next up, number 45. Off-speed pitch called strike 1. Ground ball down the line to right. And it rolls foul. The count is 0-2. Ground ball down the line to left. The runner scores. He has it close to second. The runner scores. In there with a double. Next up, number 1. Time out. Number 21 comes into pitch. Fastball called strike 1. The pitch on the way. Curve. Take it called strike 2. The count is 0-2. Fastball. Swing and a miss. Strike 3. Curve called strike 1. Delivered. The runner heads for third. Ground ball to second. Picks it up close to first. He's out. Here comes the throw. Next up, number 25. Fastball. Strike 1. He delivers. Ground ball up the middle. Close to first. Out 3 away. After 5, the score is New York 5, Kansas City 1. Leading off, number 9. Hitting 272. Time out. Number 55 comes into pitch. The pitch. Swing and a ground ball up the middle. Close to first. Not in time. Next up, number 23. Infield back. Comes the pitch. Fly ball deep to center. The runner, he's back. The center fielder makes the play and throws to center. Next up, number 22. Here it comes. Ground ball up the middle. Picks it up close to second. Base hit. Next up, number 5. The pitch on the way. Fastball. He takes it. Strike 1. He delivers. Line drive. Right to second. And makes the grab. He's out and throws to first. Safe. Next up, number 15. Delivers. Hit to short. Got it. And throws to second. Got him. 3 away. In the top of the 6th. The score is New York 5, Kansas City 1. Leading off, number 33. Hit to third. Foul. The pitch. Hit hard to short. And makes a great pass. He's out. Next up, number 20. I'll do 59 batter. Fastball. Inside. Ball 1. Ground ball to second. He has it. Throws to second. Next up, number 10. Here comes the pitch. Fastball. Strike 1. The runner hits for second and throws to second. The runner steals second. He's safe. He delivers. Fastball. Called strike. Strike two. Delivered. Ground ball down the line to left. Foul. Delivered. Changeup. Swing and a miss. Strike three. The batter goes down on strike. Close to third. Next up, number 2. Batting 272. Hit hard to right. It drops in. He has it close to second. The runner scores. Been there with a double. Next up, number 21. The pitch. Ground ball to short. Got it. The throw to first. Got him. Side retired. In the bottom of the sixth. With the score, New York 6, Kansas City 1. Leading off, number 30. Batting 236. Comes the pitch. Screw ball. Outside. Ball one. He delivers. Ground ball to second. He has it. Close to first. In time. Next up, number 26. Up to 80 batter. Swing and a ground ball to short. Got it. Close to first. Out. Next up, number 1. Here it comes. Curve. He takes it. Strike one. Delivered. Ground ball up the middle. Close to first. He's out. Side retired. In the top of the seventh. With the score, New York 6, Kansas City 1. Leading off, number 55. Off the pitch. He takes it. Strike one. 0-1 count. Hit the first. Foul. The pitch. Changeup. Swing and a miss. Strike three. He goes down on strike. Ground ball too short. Picks it up close to second. Next up, number 30. Aubrey, 27 batter. Number 57 comes in the pitch. Fastball. Ball strike. Throws to second. The runner steals second. He's safe. The pitch on the way. Curve. Swing and a miss. Strike two. 0-2 count. The runner hits for third. Close to third. The pitch on the way. Hit to short. Picks it up close to the plate. Close to the plate. Been there with a double. Next up, number 25. Batting 3-0-2. Fastball. Swing and a miss. Strike one. Fastball. Swing and a miss. Strike two. The runner is for home. Hit to short. Close to first. Out. Close hole. The runner scores. Next up, number 33. Here comes the pitch. The runner is for home. Ground ball to short. Picks it up. The throw goes to second. The runner scores. Base hit. Next up, number 20. Fastball. Outside. Coleman. Here it comes. Off-speed pitch. Swing and a miss. Strike one. The runner heads for second. Line drive to left. It drops in. Got it. Close to second. Been there with a double. And throws to the plate. Here comes the throw. Next up, number 10. Here it comes. Hit off the middle. Picked it up. Throws to third. Straight. Close to second. The runner scores. Here comes the throw. Been there with a double. Next up, number 2. Up to 72 batter. Ground ball foul. Here comes the pitch. Swing and a ground ball. Up the middle. Close to first. Outside retired. After 7, New York 9, Kansas City 1. Leading off, number 56. Batting 261. Line drive to short. It drops in. He has it. The throw goes to second. Next up, number 9. Up to 72 batter. Infield back. Line drive. Right to second. And makes the grab. The runner back. On to first for 2. Out. Double play. Next up, number 23. Swing and a ground ball to second. Close to first. He's out. Side retired. No run. One hit, no errors, and no one left on. In the top of the 8th, with the score, New York 9, Kansas City 1. Leading off, number 21. Ground ball to second, close to first. He's out. Next up, number 55. That's all for number 57. Number 48 comes into pitch. Time out. Time out. Number 8 to hit for number 55. Next up, number 8. Up to 75 batter. Fastball. Ball straight. Fastball. Outside. Ball one. Delivered. Hit to short. Close to second. Next up, number 1. Batting 255. The runner heads for second. Ground ball to short. He has it. The throw goes to second. Base hit. Next up, number 30. The pitch. Ground ball up the middle. The throw goes to second. Out. Double play. 3 away. After 8, New York 9, Kansas City 1. Leading off, number 22, hitting 259. Time out. That's all for number 8. Number 61 comes into pitch. The pitch curve. Swing and a miss. Strike one. The pitch on the way. Swing and a ground ball up the middle. He has it. Close to first. In time. Next up, number 5. Batting 255. Infield batter. Hit to second. He has it. Close to first. He's out. Close to the plate. Close to third. Next up, number 15. Delivered. Fastball. He takes it. Strike ball. Here it comes. Hit to second. Close to first. He's out. New York has the win. 9-1. With the score, New York 9 runs 17 hits and no errors. Kansas City 1 run, 9 hits and no errors. The win goes to New York.